Hello and welcome to this partner series webinar, Saving Teachers Time with Cloud Design Box and Beedle. So we've got a partner on the session with us today. So hi Melanie, Melanie's the CEO of Beedle.
Good morning everyone, hello.
Good morning.
Hi Melanie, you all right?
Yes, thank you.
And that there is Darren, he's our operations manager and former MFL teacher. Hi Darren.
Hello, how are you doing?
And we've also got Joanne, our customer success manager, on the call as well, and she'll be in the background answering any questions that you have or posting them to us at the end of the session. Hi Joanne.
Morning everyone. Morning everyone.
Morning.
And if anyone does have any questions, you will see there's a question mark with a little speech bubble in the top corner of your screen. Feel free to ask questions at any point throughout the presentation. We'll try our best to answer them as we go along, but if we miss them, we'll come back to them at the end. So a quick agenda of what we're going to go through today. So we'll introduce both companies and what we do and how it works well together. So first of all, we'll do a Cloud Design Box introduction. Then I'll pass over to Melanie for a Beedle introduction. We'll then do a demo of the Cloud Design Box product, and we'll do a demo of the Beedle product, and you'll see how nicely those two solutions work together. And we'll come to any questions and answers at the end if we don't get a chance to answer them as we go along. So just to start off, introducing Cloud Design Box, we're a team of education teams and SharePoint experts. We support over 360 schools in the UK and abroad. And we specialise in all types of education, so all the way from primary through to secondary and college, but also MAT groups as well. We particularly specialise in education technology, and we also work with a number of Microsoft Showcase schools, which I know Beedle do as well, and some DFE EdTech demonstrator schools that we have here in the UK as well. And this is just a quick quote from one of the DFE EdTech demonstrator colleges we work with. Again, we work with lots of schools to help them get set up on Teams and use it really well across their entire school or college. So some of the problems that we'll be looking to solve as part of the Cloud Design Box solution is some of those problems that you might have if you're already using Microsoft Teams and Microsoft School Data Sync. So one of the some of the main issues that we come across is department leaders sometimes find it really difficult to see full visibility of assignments. So you might have lots of people working in your departments as teachers, but you have to then go in and micromanage each individual class team to make sure that work's being set and to know the quality of the work that's being set. So one thing that we do as part of our solution is we provide some solutions that can actually help you improve that and save department leader time. So we'll have a look at some of those shortly. Reducing the workload of teachers. So again, if you're using Teams already and you teach lots of different, for example, English year 11 classes, then as a teacher, you're potentially uploading your work multiple times into different resource banks. So it means you've got lots of different versions of the same documents in different places. You're having that extra workload of every academic year, uploading resources over and over again into all those different classes. And what we try and do is try and centralize those resource areas so you can reuse those resources with everyone in your department. And as a head of a department, you can keep track of the quality of those resources that are being used. And the other thing is adoption. So we work really closely with schools to provide training. We're a Microsoft Global Training Partner to make sure that teachers can use Microsoft Teams and SharePoint really well across the entire school. And there's lots of other things we'll cover in the demo today as well about accessing archive content and covering lessons really quickly. And these are some of the benefits that we bring with our solutions. So saving teacher time, so having that single version of the truth that you can reuse with all the classes you teach and share with all the different teachers in your department. Saving department leader time, like I say, checking the quality of those resources that are being used across your lessons and providing some analytics so you can quickly see which teachers, which classes are being set homework and making sure that you've checked that box and that's being done in your particular department. Improving communication and just making it a really enjoyable experience. We create a SharePoint intranet where you can publish resources to the wider audiences across the school. So things like school policies, staff handbooks, etc. You can make that all available through the SharePoint portal, which is integrated into Teams. And the other side of this is making sure that people use it really well. So we help schools create a long-term strategy where you can build confidence with the new technology. So as a Microsoft Global Training Partner, we provide CPD certified courses. Teachers can get their MIE badges as they complete those. And having those training sessions means that you can bring everybody on that journey with you. And again, we're here to support schools long term. So we have unlimited technical and teacher learning support throughout the year to help you adopt Teams well across the entire school. So not just the tech savvy teachers, but also teachers that might be quite new to Teams. So bringing everybody on that journey with you. And of course, there's the automation and the time saving costs. We automate all of your class teams from the school MIS system. So teachers don't have to set them up. They're populated, ready to go. And once they're ready to go, then if you wanted to, you could also add in the Beedle tabs into those teams. So I'll now pass you over to Melanie at Beedle, and she's going to take through an introduction to Beedle and the products that they provide.
Thank you. Shall I share my own slide or will you change it for me?
Whichever you feel comfortable with, Melanie.
Yeah, I will take over.
Okay, great.
Thank you so much. So thank you so much for having us on the call. Can you see my PowerPoint slide?
Yeah, that's working now.
Okay, super. So we at Beedle, we are a small company in Iceland, and we are our vision is that teachers can do as much as possible in Microsoft Teams, and of course with the enhancement of Class Design Box and Beedle together, this is a perfect fit. So teacher can do have a very easy go-to in the whole Microsoft Teams environment. We are, I've started my career as a teacher and I'm now the CEO of the company, and we see that a lot of schools face the same problems at the moment. They have very outdated and disconnected systems. They need to log into 5 different things to do their daily job. Also, they need to take care on top of that to the security and data protection. The teachers, they are kind of expected to do hybrid teaching. Now everything goes back into the classroom. This is a very challenging time for them, and they don't have a lot of time, as you might very well know on the call. And then also they lack personal teaching and learning. So in the Nordics, we are really focusing on formative assessment and really coaching the students, but it's very hard to do that when you have 25 students in one class and the data is across many systems. So students are not engaged and motivated, and also it lacks a lot of personalization for their learning path. During the COVID time, we have seen that parents have become an essential part of the students' learning. Also now they kind of expect to still get the insight into the school environment. So what we give with our Guardian app is a full insight into Teams and Beedle functionality. What we built, and we do this together with a lot of advisory schools, is we have a K-12 ready solution, but also have many higher eds that are using Beedle at the moment all over the globe, fairly many also in the UK, and we just enhance the Teams functionality. So on top of Teams, we build a class list, which I will then also introduce to you afterwards. That saves a lot of time when you're teaching in class. We have a journal, which just also makes the life a little bit easier in Teams. We have a planning tool here on the left-hand side that is also working very well together with the resource sector of the Cloud Design Box. We have an attendance objective, so really just more and more, we bring more and more functionality into Microsoft Teams. This is how it looks like. So we have a big benefit for the administrators, for example, because they can see all the students that are in a school. You can immediately see who is absent. You can have a journal, a private comment that goes through to all the owner of a certain student. So if something happens, they can push it out just to all the teachers of this particular student. Then I will show you our planning. That really saves a lot of time when working with Microsoft Teams assignment, and the resources, also the one Cloud Design Box prepares so well for the teams. Then we have a curriculum builder in the background where teachers can really, where you can focus on the formative assessment. And what we're building at the moment is a dashboard. So the entrance into Microsoft Teams, we've seen that a lot of students are struggling with finding their way through Teams. It's an amazing system, but it's very powerful and huge. So students have a better access to the Microsoft Teams entrance and environment. And then we also built a parent app. I won't show you that on the call, but please feel free to contact us afterwards if you want to learn more about this, where parents get the full insight into Microsoft Teams assignments. For example, they can see the assignments with the instructions and also the resources. They can even see the work that their child has handed in and the teacher's comment and feedback. We can also provide an attendance through the Guardian app. It feeds directly to the Teams part for the teachers, and also have a connect button. It's basically like a WhatsApp or a messenger that is in a safe environment that teachers can use to communicate with the parents. As I said before, we're working with a lot of schools, and for us it's really important not to build something just out behind closed doors in Iceland and hope that teachers can use it, but we really are in frequent collaboration with the schools. They tell us what they like in Teams, what they're missing, what Teams could do better, and we have a very small and flexible team and can so act very agile to the requirements of our schools. We are present in 87 countries and available in 9 languages, and also have more than 700 schools or educational institutions that work currently with Beedle. On the right hand side you see some advisory schools that we have, and I just give you a little bit time to read through a statement of one of our dear friends in Australia, Kate. So thank you. Then I think it's always nicest to see it directly in the demo. So I hand it over to Tony to do, or his team, Cloud to Sandbox, to go into the demo, and then I will be back with a quick Beedle demo.
Thanks, Melanie. That was really good. So yeah, we've definitely come across those similar problems that Melanie described, where there's a lot of lost learning to make up. Obviously, the pandemic was one of those times when people really adopted this software from Microsoft, but they need sometimes a bit of guidance, and there's some things that can be made a bit easier for teachers to use. So hopefully you can see my screen now. I think I've just started sharing that. Great. So I'll jump into a demonstration. So first off, I'll just start off in SharePoint and show you how this works and pulls everything together. So SharePoint and Teams, that's all free for schools and Office 365. And what we do is we create SharePoint and Teams automatically from the school's management system. So this, for example, is a typical homepage where I've got news from around the school, I've got word of the day, I've got my assignments from Teams, my class Teams in here. And at the top, we've got the school branding and logo and a menu, which shows me everything that I have access to in the school. So it's personalized for me. And this might be sort of the school business side of things. So it could be some stuff outside of the curriculum areas. So I've got some collaboration spaces where I could store resources securely. And that's part of your journey moving to the cloud, moving away from those on-premise file shares. But I've also got some communication areas as well. And this is sort of your traditional intranet where you're publishing resources to wide audiences of people across the entire school. So you might have something like a library site where you can meet the librarian team, see books of the week, have a countdown to World Book Day, again, whatever content you want to put onto those pages. You might have something a bit more document focused. So I might have a specific staff site where I've got policies, staff handbooks, daily, weekly staff briefing and lunch rota. So again, there's day-to-day things that need to be made available to staff in the school. And there's lots of features in SharePoint that you can really benefit from that can save you lots of time. So this example, this is a really basic example of having policy documents in SharePoint where I can quickly color code which ones are out of date and which ones are okay. And I can even set up a quick email reminder, send me an email before those policies expire.
So I guess, Tony, this is in some ways this is kind of replacing all that use of email for communications, because you get a lot of emails if you're in a school about all kinds of things, and you can't read them all. So this is more kind of a place that you just come every day, and if you want a policy that you need to read, it's there really quickly. If you want to see news items and important announcements, that's there really quickly. You don't have to monitor your inbox all the time.
Yeah, there really shouldn't be any all staff emails, really.
Yeah.
They can use Teams if they do need to instant message a group of people, which we'll come on to shortly. But for a lot of people, if they're sending around a newsletter or so, the latest policy updates, those are all available inside the intranet for you to discover as you go onto those pages.
And I guess, if you're used to having maybe a T drive for teachers, and that's where all the teacher stuff goes, it's really hard to find things in there. Whereas in SharePoint, the navigation's really crisp and clear, and the search is absolutely incredible. So it makes it so much easier to find those documents that you need.
Exactly. I can search across the entire SharePoint site or the entire tenant if I wanted to find any resources available, which potentially could be hundreds of thousands or millions of documents if you're a multi-academy trust. And then we've got the curriculum side of things. So we automate the class teams. So if you're using something like Beedle and you're creating your class teams manually, we can automate those from your school management system. So we currently work with all the UK MIS systems, we use Salamander software integration, and lots of international ones as well. So potentially, if you're a typical secondary school, you might have 1,200 classes created every academic year. And obviously the membership of those changes over time as well. And you've probably already got a school management system that registers students in those classes, and this can just pick up those changes and automate them in Teams. So you don't have to worry about getting teachers to create teams and create classes. And then that's one barrier removed from using a product like Beedle, because your classes already exist, teachers and students are already in them, they're kept up to date automatically, and they're updated every academic year. So if you're already using Teams, you might have noticed that at the end of the academic year, you go through a rollover process where you archive off your old academic classes and you create your new classes for the new academic year. And again, one of the problems with that is potentially I teach lots of different English classes every academic year as a teacher. I don't want to upload my resources over and over again into each of those class teams. I want to store them in the central bank, probably replacing some of those shared drives that you might have on premise at the moment as well. So get rid of all those file servers and SanDisks and all that stuff that actually costs a lot of money to maintain and refresh, and actually creating some subject areas automatically. We create these automatically from the school data, and these exist forever. They don't roll over. They're there as your permanent stores for those different subjects. And again, it's personalized to me. So I can only see the subjects I teach or that I'm enrolled on as a student, and I can go into one of those subjects and access those long-term resource areas. So for example, in this example, I've got some staff-only areas only staff can see. Students can't see those areas. This is also a team as well. So everything you see today is available in both SharePoint and Teams. And then you've got your student-facing resources that students can see, but they can't edit. And as you move up through the different year groups, you have access to more and more resources, but you can't see any age inappropriate content. You get access to that content as you move up through the school. And if you
just thinking about those resources there, Tony, and of course, as you'll show us in a bit, they tie into the teams as well. What's good about this is that it's relatively unstructured. Obviously, you can put things inside year 11 or year 10, and those are kept separate. And you can put things inside your folders, but it's not kind of a course structure. There's no kind of preset pathway. Whereas I know that when Melanie is showing the Beedle approach later on, there is kind of the concept of kind of a course profile. She'll describe it much better than I do. So they are slightly different things, but they work really well together.
Yeah, this is sort of your drive that you might have in school that you store all your resources on and share it with your colleagues, and then these resources can then be put into those structured courses that you might have through something like Beedle. And again, this is really easy for teachers to use. They can just drag and drop the documents in here. This is all these resources here will be available in all of those different classes that the teacher teaches. So if I go into the class dashboard, it'll show me all the classes for this academic year. And we did discuss one of those problems that you might have with Teams currently is at the end of the academic year, you archive off those classes and you create new ones. And teachers can then panic, you know, they're having to upload their resources again. They can't find their old class teams because they sort of disappear in the Teams interface. But we have a little time machine option here, and you can go back to a previous academic year, access those archive teams in that read-only format if you needed to really quickly and easily. So I can jump into one of these class teams, see all the students in here, again, the pictures from the school management system, and then just jump straight into that class team or straight into a specific area within that team. So if I go into Teams, this will open up Microsoft Teams. It'll go straight into that team for 11Y EN3. And what you'll see inside this team is where we mentioned before about having those centralized resources. Every single English team, every academic year, automatically has the Year 11 English resources added. So these are exactly the same resources we saw earlier, but they're available for every teacher and every student who takes an English class every academic year. They're there permanently. And it means as a teacher, you can reuse these resources with your class. If you do need to do things like differentiation, you can always copy these resources into the team if you wanted to, or even better, share them with your colleagues and put those differentiated resources back into the parts. And what you'll see is also when you create assignments and when we look at the Beedle stuff later on, you can actually attach resources from those centralized teams because they are Microsoft Teams. I can go into English and grab those resources that either myself or my colleagues have created and reuse them inside that particular assignment. So I can grab a worksheet, attach it into there and reuse it with that assignment. So that is typically the sort of things that we do as Cloud Design Box. We also have a number of different features, so we can create multiple schools in a single tenant. So if you're a multi-academy trust, you could have, you know, primary school site. You could have a trust level portal as well, where you might have your central services for the trust, your central teams that span across the different trusts. We can even create academic departments automatically and add, for example, all the science teachers into a team across all of the schools so they can collaborate together across the trust.
And that works in a primary school context as well, doesn't it? Because we make different kinds of classes, so you can have your kind of timetable teaching sets, you know, for maths and science and French and what have you. But you can also have registration groups from most MIS. So, for example, in a primary school context, that would allow you to have a class for each form, if you like, but also have rolled up resources for all of Year 1, all of Year 2. Do it by key stage if you wanted to, and then of course scaling up for the teachers as well. So if you are working in a multi-school trust context and you've got multiple primary schools, you can take all the Year 1 teachers and you can automatically put them in a Year 1 staff team so they can all talk about Year 1 stuff.
Yeah, and I was just quickly showing you on the screen now some of the analytics that we also provide. So we can sort it by the concept of a subject. You can drill down into those subjects and just see how many assignments have been set per class. And I can drill down into an individual class and see what assignments were set, when they were created and when they're due. So again, it just gives department leaders transparency as to what has been set in their department. And there's also things like a cover manager, so you can quickly grab a teacher and inject them into a class that they wouldn't normally teach. So obviously we prefer it to be automated through the MIS, but that's not always possible. So it could be just to observe a lesson, it could be covering them while they're self-isolating, or it could be there till the end of the term if you wanted to. And I can just instantly inject that teacher into that class and they'll automatically be removed on that particular date. So we have lots of tools in there to help you sort of delegate
Tony,
access.
that's actually amazing, because of course we hear that a lot, the question when they have just a substitute for several days and they want to give somebody access, you wouldn't necessarily put that in or create that one in the SIS or link it to the team. So that seems to be a very valuable feature for a lot of schools, because I see it right that you can also terminate it.
Yeah,
so
and
yeah,
I think it's quite a technical process as well. You know, if you're you don't want to be having to go to the IT manager every time you need to change a membership of a team. So the school could delegate access to the cover manager to maybe somebody who looks after cover or is the data manager in the school, and they can just add that in without having to learn how to be an admin.
Yeah,
amazing.
so these pages aren't for admins, are they? These pages are for somebody that you trust in the school. So it could be the cover manager, it could be a head teacher, deputy head teacher, assistant heads. Those are the people that would have access to this.
Yeah, so hopefully that gives you a bit of a flavour of the sort of things we do. You know, we specialise in Teams and SharePoint. We're there to help and support you long term. So, you know, we don't disappear after we set this up. We're here to talk to you on an ongoing basis to make sure that you get, you know, good adoption across the whole school. Our support desk is available with, you know, unlimited access for a teacher learning lead and a technical lead at the school. So I'll now pass you over to back to Beedle, and we'll get a demo of the Beedle solution from Melanie.
Super, thank you. That was amazing, Tony. Absolutely amazing. Thank you.
Thank you.
I will share my screen and maybe also pick up a few of the things that Tony has been showing that you could see in Cloud Design Box. But today's webinar is about saving time, and I just will point out the benefits when you're using Beedle on top of Microsoft Teams, and where you can save time, especially in collaboration, of course, with the Cloud Design Box features. So first time you save time is when you install Beedle. So we are in a Teams environment, as you might all very well know. You go to the App Store, and then you can find Beedle as a third-party app in here. And it's basically as easy as that you just type in Beedle, you find it here. Of course, I've already prepared this, but when you add Beedle to your tenant, it's up running within minutes, and it leverages all the Microsoft Teams functionality. So every class that Cloud Design Box has beautifully set up for you, everything that you have in Teams and is ready, Beedle would just build on top. So you don't have any additional setup or any additional implementation of anything. It's really as easy as just add it to your Teams tenant. It needs a one-time consent of an administrator, because we need to have certain rights. We're showing a class list, for example. That means we need to get access to the role of the person that is in Teams, so we can show you the students, for example, in the class. And also some of the things we share, we store in the SharePoint side of a tenant. And that's why we need certain permissions. But once this is up running, then you can see all the teams. And as you can see, I have a few teams in here. I go to my Schneider 8th grade math. Next time you save time is basically when you click on whatever Beedle or Beedle tab, you just log in with a small green button. I've done that beforehand, and then it's up running. So you don't need to take care of any passport or you know, it's basically just uses the single sign-on of Teams. Once you have added Beedle to your tenant, the teachers can find it in their tab. We have different functionality. I will not go deep down into all of the different functionalities. I will very quickly show you the class list, because there are some things there that save you a lot of time when working within Teams. I show you the planning module, which is our biggest time saver, but we also deliver an assessment or provide an assessment tool where you can also do a formative assessment, so you can assess your curriculums or learning goals. And in the background on a staff or PLC team, you can set up a curriculum. So this is just a setup that happens in a staff team, and then you can reuse the curriculum statements or the learning goals in your planning or in your assessment. The setup happens on a staff level. Easiest thing to show you is the class list, and there is many things that save you immediately a bit of time. First of all, now back in class, you might do a lot of group work, so you can define the number of group that you want in your class when you do group work, and you can shuffle, and then it just gives you 3 groups. You can download the groups, and when I was a teacher, I always put it on the table so they could see in which group they were. So you can download a PDF or Excel or Word file of that group constellation. And then there are always 2 teachers that students that don't get along well with each other, so we can also, you know, just switch them around, or if somebody isn't here, we just drag them in the absent group. So this is a really quick way of forming groups, and we're working towards to also be able to reuse the group again, push it in a private channel, for example, when you do projects or create breakout rooms when you do meetings. So that's something we are continuously enhancing our Beedle functionality. That is saves quite some time. And then when we talk about the journal, this is a big time saver for our advisory schools. It's basically every comment that you want to be longer available as just in a chat functionality. That might be a learning feedback or just things you want to collect to discuss later on with the parent. You can just create a comment. You can say, you know, he is very tired on Monday mornings. Maybe just something you would like to discuss with Al or with the parents. You can also add it then, and this is something you can completely customize the tags, and you can individually share it with other class teachers. This goes to all the owners of the team, or you can immediately also share it with the students and guardians. If you share it with the guardians, this would then be pushed out in the Guardian app. So you save this, and then when the parent interviews come up, you can basically just go to the students. You can filter for the tag, and you can just take the printout with you to the parent interviews. What also a lot of schools are using it for is a learning feedback. So we are in an 8th grade math team, and maybe Ashley has done a presentation, or I have been working with her together to prepare for a test. And I can see that she's not very good at fractions, so I would just write to her, please repeat, you know, the fraction sector, add it with learning feedback. And Ashley would see this tab also, so she sees the Beedle class list with the journal, and she could then filter through all her learning feedback, for example. So she could prepare for a test. It saves a lot of time, of course, in comparison with noting it down on a piece of paper and then collecting everything at the end of the year. So that is a big time saver.
As I was going to say, Melanie, one of the things that Darren mentioned earlier was about eliminating those emails.
Mm-hmm.
And actually, many of the emails that go around the school about students, you know, please take note of this student, you know, something happened in class, or be aware of this issue. But they could just put that in this journal, couldn't they? And all the class teachers could see it for that student.
Exactly, yeah, and it goes even further. You know, in the concept of Teams, we also have a personal tab. So if you want to have a comment that it should be available to just all the teachers that are, for example, teaching Adele, you can create a general comment. This is used, you know, if something happened in the family, or if just all the teachers would need to know something specific about Adele, you can just push it out, and it goes out to all the all the owners where Adele is a member of their team. So it's just a very easy way, and as you said exactly, not to send out an email to anyone. It's just in Teams here and safely stored in the environment here.
Well, what I like about this as well, Melanie, although it's simple to do, it's not kind of massively visible unless the teacher kind of looks for it. So, for example, if you were sending this as an email, or you were even just putting it as a comment in Teams, you never know when a teacher is going to be sharing their screen and students might accidentally see that sort of thing. But this is a little bit more protected. You've got to click in to see these.
Yeah, and of course they get a notification, so you would see a small activity. Of course, we want to notify them if something happens within their environment, but then they actively click on the activity button and open this comment. But that's a very good input, yeah. So you cannot accidentally share this and show it to the students. Absolutely. And then one other thing that we have is the Beedle planning, and this really is a very great collaboration between Cloud Design Box and Beedle. You see on the left-hand side are our plans that you can freely just create however you want. Some of the schools might want to have it in courses, or this is a learning unit. We Swiss people, we like to do it very chronologically, so I would have January, week 1, day 1. So however it fits your teaching, really, you can put this up. It's as simple as just add a plan and create one and name it however you want it. So I prepared these congruent shapes lessons where I have my introduction lesson, and then on the right hand side the teachers can basically upload, or you can upload everything that you would like to teach that is not an assignment and that doesn't need a direct collaboration with the students. That might be a PowerPoint you want to show, some learning material, a video to a link to a video. And here you can also have a link to the resources that you had from the Cloud Design book. So it basically, when you are creating the Beedle planning, it gives you a copy. So you can basically work with a copy of the file, or when you link into it, you can just link to the master file that you've sent up in Cloud Design box or in the resource sector. We are working on this, so you can also, go through your Teams files. So this should really just all be the teacher circle should be just closed with that, so you can basically put everything that you want in here and have everything at one place. Because one of the main comments we get is that it's very hard for the teachers and the student to find or streamline everything into one place, because they have their data everywhere. And with the Beedle planning, you can just have one place where you put everything in, you link everything in there, you link to the resource sector of the Cloud Design box functionality, so you have everything in this place. And then you can also make this visible for the students, so the students basically follow the same plan that you have. That is just done then by this small thing. You can show it to the student. As soon as you do that, it's not shared per default, but as soon as you do that, the students can also view it, but they cannot change anything. And that's really a great advantage. So it's clearly just the viewing rights for the students.
That's brilliant.
Sorry?
Just to get pedagogical for a moment, if I may, there are different modes of learning here, aren't there? So you might say, there's an assignment and it's a very specific piece of work that you do, and you might assign that using perhaps the Teams assignments. But if you want to create kind of a flow, a pathway of learning for students, this is a brilliant way of doing it. And as you say, you're benefiting from the centralized resources that we've helped the schools cultivate as well. So everything fits together beautifully.
Thank you, Darren. Absolutely. And me as a former teacher, I found this very valuable also to have just a free text field that is not available for the student to really just reflect and evaluate your lesson. So I might have done this introduction week, but I just know that the PowerPoint is outdated, or when I teach chemistry, I need to prepare a lot of things. So this one is really just there for the teachers to do their reflection or just what preparation they need to do. And this goes also with you, and that's actually one of the main benefit on this Beedle planning. You've talked about before, Tony, about creating or taking resources over to the next team. So whatever you plan here in Beedle planning, you're just basically one click away for taking this and copy this to whatever team you set up. So this is really making life a lot easier when you can you have your plan, you set it up, you have everything beautifully put together, and then you copy it over to whatever team you would like. And it's not only copying the resource sector, so you have the PowerPoint available in a new team or the link to the learning material, but we also have a link to the assignments. And that is not our own assignment, that's just the team's assignment, because schools are very happy with it, so we don't do our own assignments. But still, if they have an endless list of assignments that exist in this Schneider 8th grade math teams, they get the possibility with Beedle to bundle them. So they can say, in my introduction week, I will link, and this just hooks directly into the Teams assignment. I will create, or I will cover these 2 assignments in this week. And when you copy this over to a new team, these assignments also come over to the new team, just creates a draft. And as we know at the moment, it takes a lot of time to create the assignment after assignment and take it over to the next team. If you link it to Beedle, it just takes the whole bundle, and this is a massive time saver.
See, that's amazing, because you're taking what is basically a single assignment process, the assignment 2 in Teams, which is great, but you're kind of bringing those assignments together to form a course of sorts.
Absolutely, yeah.
Which you can reuse next year. Great.
I couldn't have said it better, yeah, absolutely. And as you can see, it's just a direct link. So when a teacher clicks on that, he basically just ends up in the assignments of Teams, so he can basically grade it. And for the students, again, they see the same in Beedle planning, and they can also, it's also just an information for them what will be covered in this week in regards of assignments. And you can also link this to a calendar. So this is purely a planning calendar. We know that the Teams also provides a calendar. For us, it's just purely planning. This was really helpful for the students in COVID times, because they could go in here. That was basically their entry point into the whole day or week, what they need to do. And they can see what has Ms. Schneider planned for me this week, and then they directly end up in the planning sector. So they have all the resources there. So that is something that is of great benefit for the students also. And saves a lot of time again. Also, this is available, of course, on the personal tab. We know, students are in a lot of teams, so when they go to the planning there, they can basically just, or to the calendar, sorry, in the planning, they can just mark the teams that they want to see and the planning, and then they get an overview over basically everything that is going on within all the teams. What you can also do, that's just on top of that, create a new event. So if you have a big math test, and that's something that is really good to also, just as an information for other teachers, to just define that we had a rule in my schools that we shouldn't do more than 2 big tests in a week. So that's also where you could basically just bring all the planning together, and when the big tests are, so students are not overwhelmed with work and tests in 1 week. Yeah, that was it from my side. I will give back to Tony.
Thank you. That looked great, and again, saving teachers time with those courses. So I'll just reshare my screen. And before I go back into presentation for questions, I'll just quickly show you this is a Cloud Design Box team with the Beedle app added. And I've just gone into Journal and added a comment for Susan Abbott, so you can see it works with the teams that we create as well. So if anyone has any questions for either Cloud Design Box or Beedle, or just general questions about Teams maybe, feel free to post it in the question and answer. There should be a little speech bubble with a question mark in it. Click on there, post your questions in there, and we'll try our best to answer those. While we're waiting for those to come in, I'll just go through the contact details for Beedle and Cloud Design Box. So there's Beedle contact details on the screen here. So you've got the websites, email, and the different social media channels, and also how to get started for free using the app at the top there. And the Cloud Design Box contact details, again, we'll send all of this out in a follow-up email afterwards, along with a video recording. And if you want a more in-depth demo of either product, then just let us know and we can arrange a one-on-one chat. So Cloud Design Box website, our email address, our phone number. Joanne, if you want to speak directly to Joanne, she can take calls on that number. And if you've got a camera phone, you can just point your camera at these QR codes and they'll link you straight to the Twitter feed, which is lots of useful tips and guides that we post on a regular basis. Newsletters, that's a summary of all the podcasts we do with senior leaders, and again, the free guides and tips and news and information, the latest news on Microsoft Teams in education. So again, even if you don't use our product, you might find that's a really useful resource. The YouTube page, again, lots of free videos and guides that we post on a regular basis, so subscribe to that. And a Facebook channel, a Facebook group for remote teachers or online teaching. That's a secure group where you can share best practices with other teachers on similar topics. So again, feel free to post any questions that you have now. Otherwise, feel free to contact us afterwards with any questions. We can obviously route you to Beedle if you come through us, and vice versa.
So Tony, just while I'm thinking about, while we're waiting for folks to come in with any questions, I've obviously been planning in my head the kind of ways that you could use Cloud Design Box and Beedle together, and I think the plan's pretty simple, really. It's basically get us in to do your class teams, make those various kinds of class teams, timetable teaching sets, registration groups, rolled up subject teams, so you get like year 8 English as a class, rolled up registration groups, so you get just year 8, the whole of year 8 as a class, houses, because we can pull that as well. All of those different kinds of teams, different sizes, different shapes, different flavors, they all get created, and then bring in the Beedle app and then teachers can start using that app in the context of all those pre-existing teams. So teachers won't need to worry about managing membership or anything like that. And then using the centralized resources, those locations that we make available, which are better than your kind of network shares, your T drive, your S drive, and what have you. When you come to build the plans, course plans within Beedle, you reach into those areas and you know that those are going to be good quality resources, and the latest version of those resources, which the heads of department have had a chance to look over and apply their badge of quality on, and those go into the Beedle plans, and so it continues. Does that sound like it could work as a plan, Melanie?
Absolutely, yeah. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, so I guess our drive's a replacement for those shared drives it might have on premise at the moment. You still need a place to store those documents, but if you wanted to then structure it, then you might use something like Beedle to do that into courses. So we've had a question in: is it possible to import students' timetable from ISAMS into their team's calendar? Unfortunately, teachers are required to carry out this lengthy task manually twice a term. So that's not something that I think either of us do from
well,
ISAM.
actually, we are working on a framework for the timetable, so we will release it over summer so that the framework is there, and then of course with the help of a partner we could feed the data in there. You would see it then on the planning calendar, but of course this will at one time be feedback or linked to the team's calendar. So definitely would like to elaborate more on that idea. It's something we're working on anyway. Yeah.
And with those questions, I always think of, is that really a question about provisioning classes based on the timetable in ISAMS, or is it about actually, getting the events and just making that available so it's a calendar people can look at and know where they're supposed to be? So the first one we can definitely do from ISAMS and all the other MIS. We can take those timetables and we can use those to create the actual classes. That's something that we do. But as Melanie says, they're working towards being able to actually take that calendar data. I'm in this class on a Tuesday morning, I'm in this class on a Thursday, this is the room, all that kind of stuff that you would normally maybe see in kind of an exchange calendar and show
but
that.
It's also about working with the data, because when you do your planning, you might want to link it to a certain lesson or on a certain day. So that's why we built it in our Beedle planning calendar, because a lot of schools are working towards the lessons or planning with their lessons. And also we have an attendance module that I have not been showing today, but of course when we're talking about attendance, then it is kind of essential to have a timetable also in there. So I'm quite sure we find a way to also then provide this data for you, as shall it be only for viewing, so that students can be informed which lessons they have. It feeds through the Guardian app, so the guardians are also informed where their child is at that particular moment, or then also really work with the entity and link a planning to it or take attendance. So then it will be really interesting.
Great. So I guess if they wanted a third party to pull that data into Beedle when that framework's ready, they might want to use something like Salamander Soft to import the timetable data, which they can do that into a calendar at the moment. But obviously, that's not linked to any class teams. That's sort of just looking at your timetable in a calendar. But yeah, really interested to see how that develops with you guys. So I think that's the end of the questions. We've not had any more in, but feel free to send them over to us afterwards. We'll try our best to answer those. Thank you for your time, Melanie. Thank you for joining us today.
Thank you for giving us the platform to do so. Thank you so much. It was really exciting to see how this all goes together. Yeah,
really interested to see how it develops over time as well. Obviously, we're both talking to each other as partners. And thank you, Darren and Joanne, for joining us and answering those questions and adding those comments on as well.
No worries.
Thank you.
Thanks, everyone. Thanks for joining us today.
Thank you. Have a great day.